A little bit spicy. Short background. I have been suspicious of a change in my wife's mood and temperament over the past couple of years. I finally let it get to me and confronted her, and after a short time she admitted she had slept with my best friend. I feel like my heart was ripped out. I truly feel broken. It happened 2 years before I confronted her. She swears it was the only time and the only person, and she had felt extremely bad about it. We were having very difficult times back then, on the verge of divorce. I was not being attentive, affectionate, and I was more focused on me. I realized this back then and started to make changes. But it seemed like it still wasn't good enough for her. Now I am starting to see that the better I got, the worse she felt. I was betrayed by the two people I trusted the most. I confided in him about all of our problems, and he used that opportunity to betray me. We have young kids and have been together 13 years. I made a decision that our kids shouldn't have to pay for her mistake. I had to forgive her in order for us to move forward. But by forgiving her, I now have to carry the pain and pay for her mistake. I have said what I had to say to him. Luckily for him, we weren't in person. But how do I cope with the pain, the betrayal, and lack of trust without throwing it in her face of having contempt towards her? We discuss it and I tell her how I'm feeling, but I feel like I am going to explode. What can I do without leaving her and tearing our family apart? Sadly, it did happen in our house. Thankfully not in our bed. I know that what she did should be unforgivable. I wouldn't be nearly as hurt if it was a random guy. Temptation and opportunity was there, and she didn't think about me at all. She didn't care what it was going to do to me until afterwards. We are all human and make human mistakes. I just can't see making our elementary age kids suffer and pay for her mistake. I don't take responsibility for her actions, but I have some ownership in the things that led to that. I just need to figure out how to cope with all of this and not lose our family. If I lose the kids in the house and everything we worked for, I will feel like their actions took over and controlled my life. I can't let that happen. I have questioned her and him, and yes, he is out of the picture for good, and posed trick questions, half-truths and traps, and their stories jive. I have had long detailed conversations with my wife and explained that I expect 100% full disclosure before we moved forward. She came clean about texts and details between the two of them that she denied initially. I can say that I feel confident that I know the whole truth. She talked with a very close friend and told her what she did. The friend was very hard on her and didn't cut her any slack about what she did. That is about as close as MC will ever get to. She does not open up to people very well. She shuts down and becomes defensive. We had tried counseling in the past and it did not help much. I guess I am looking for a magic line that will take my pain away now. But there isn't one. Letting this out and discussing helps though. It gets a little easier to cope each day. Some days are not so good. Heartbroken in the South. I truly in my heart know she has been honest with me about everything that happened, when it happened, and how many times. I have spent the better part of the last 3 weeks checking emails, phone records, texts, talking to friends within our circle, and there is nothing that is out of the ordinary. I went back and looked at our paper cell phone bills from 2 years ago, and the only communication via cell phone between the former friend and my wife was on that day. It also makes sense now why she acted so hateful towards him when he was over hanging out with us and other friends. Could have been an act. If so, she played it well. The mood changes over the past 2 years were a red flag, but I don't believe the mood had anything to do with an ongoing and continued affair. As I started to make changes in how I was treating her and how I participated in the family, I think she felt worse and more guilty as time went along, and the better I got, the worse she felt. She is a genuine, kind-hearted person, and she knew what she did would crush me, and I think she was hoping I would never find out and we would live happily ever after without me knowing. I have given her the opportunity to come clean about anything else and told her that was her only opportunity, and if I found out later, regardless of whether it is a week from now or 5 years from now, we will be done. Honestly, we are closer now than we have ever been. It doesn't make much sense, but we are. We never communicated very well. She never seemed to put much effort into working on our marriage when we had problems. We pretty much coexisted for a long time. There was also love. We didn't yell and scream and fight. We never have fought about money. Now we have long conversations about very deep and intimate things, as well as light casual conversations. We open up to each other about everything. We tell each other things we would have kept to ourselves not too long ago. I am still in pain. I will be for some time. But by forgiving her, I have to forgive completely. We can't move forward if we are constantly looking back. We can't move forward if I hold contempt towards her. I had a long conversation about trust with her last night. I told her that I trust her, but not unconditionally. She has to earn my full trust again. I will stay guarded and stay vigilant and will continue to monitor communication, and I have a couple of neighbors keeping an eye on activity around the house for me. She is a good person, a spectacular mom, a full-time student working very hard to better our lives, and she made a terrible mistake. The fact is, 2 years ago, if I was in a situation of temptation, I don't know if I could have resisted. I am not a cheater, I don't believe in it, but humans make human mistakes. Leaving her and breaking up our family would not solve anything or make anything better. I am struggling with my confidence and self-worth right now, but I am not going to let my pride causing my children pain. I know there is no excuse for cheating, ever. I will not allow her to make excuses. She has owned up to doing a very selfish and hurtful thing. I was very worried that she was only upset that I found out and not upset about what she did. However, I walked in on her in the bath a few days ago and she was sobbing almost uncontrollably. When I asked her why she was crying, fully expecting another revelation, she responded, "I feel so terrible. I risked ruining our family. I broke up your friendship with $$, and worst of all, I broke my vows to you. I committed a cardinal sin." She was almost beside herself with guilt and remorse. I reminded her that we also had vows that said for better or for worse. I am forgiving her for the sake of all of us. I won't be able to forget, but I also need to be able to not resent her. My opinion is forgiveness is not conditional. I don't have to forgive her, I want to and truly do. I'm not sure what hurts more, that she cheated or the fact of who she cheated with. Honestly, if it was someone I didn't know, I would be able to process and heal easier, I think. However, I struggle with the fact that by forgiving her, she is almost getting a free pass and I carry the pain and I pay the price for her mistake. But I guess that is my choice to do so. I've been through a lot in my life. A terrible mother that abandoned me in a hotel room at 6 years old with my 4-year-old sister for 2 weeks before the cops found us and never saw her again, and a drunk father who passed away a month before I found out about my wife's infidelity. But none of that compares to the pain I feel now. I have told her that I don't trust her and that she will have to not only earn my trust back, but she will have to prove to me every day that she wants the marriage to work. She has to do the heavy lifting to repair this, not me. I sat down with her and had a very long conversation, and in that conversation I gave her the opportunity to come clean about anything else. I explained it was a safe passage situation and that this was her one and only chance to confess to anything else, no matter how small it seemed. She very sincerely professed that there was nothing else and no other time. I made it very clear that it was the only opportunity she had. I told her that if something else came out, whether from her or someone else, it was over. I would file for a divorce petition for majority custody of our children and she would be out of the house. It doesn't matter if it came out a week from now, a year from now, or 5 years from now. I said it with complete sincerity and I meant every word of it. I told her that she is not allowed to delete and call records or texts, and I would compare the phone bill to the texts, calls on her phone. If there was a text or call on the bill that wasn't on her phone, then she was out. I know I painted a picture of saint-like forgiveness, but I remain guarded, and in reality, I know the likelihood of undisclosed indiscretions and the possibility of repeat offenses in the future. She knows the consequences and she have free will. If she does it again, we're done. I did get more info on how things happened that day. I didn't ask about details until now, really because I didn't want to know. But I'll explain below. The friend lived across the street from us with his parents for during that time, as his girlfriend was in jail and he had to move back from home. He was out of work at the time and my wife was in between semesters at school. Apparently, he would walk across the street to smoke a cigarette with my wife on the front porch and chat. She told me about this every time he came over. I didn't think much of it then. He was out screwing everything he could while his girl was locked up. I knew he was a dog, but I never crossed my mind that he would think about touching my wife. My wife even admitted to me that she thought he was attractive. It didn't bother me as I'm really not a jealous person. You would have to see me to understand, but I'm not the kind of guy you mess with like that. I didn't figure he would risk his health to do that. Apparently, the chats became a little flirtatious. He knew the problems we were having in our marriage as I had confided in him. He and I were close like brothers. So, on D-Day, he sent her a text asking if she wanted to come sit on the porch and have a smoke. By this point he was being very flirtatious, as was she. He was telling her how attractive she was, how he liked her big tits, and how I was lucky to be able to sleep with her. All things I wasn't doing at the time, and my wife said he made her feel good by telling her all those things. He was giving her the attention I wasn't at the time. He asked her if she had any coffee brewed and she said yes. He asked if he could come in and get a cup and she agreed. They sat on the couch, which is now gone from the house, and he made a move on her and she didn't stop him. There wasn't much kissing and it went straight to bonding. It lasted about 10 minutes and they quit, both agreeing they couldn't do it. She said he could barely get it up and she wasn't turned on. In separate conversations with both of them, neither knowing what the other had already told me, both confirmed this. He left and she got into the bath and cried. She started writing me a letter telling me what happened, but she never finished it or gave it to me. But she did show it to me. She had it hidden in her dresser for 2 years. I talked to both of them and never got any variance from one story to the other. He admitted to making a move on her. He couldn't explain why. He said she was attractive and he wasn't thinking. Which he is still a dirtbag piece of crap in my eyes. He moved out of his parents' house a week later and back in with his now ex-girlfriend 2 hours away. I checked phone records from now all the way back to then and there was never another call or text between them. I checked all of the other numbers and called the ones I didn't recognize. Those turned out to be girls my wife is in school with. So, at this point I have no evidence nor any suspicion that it happened again with him or anyone else. I can never be 100% sure, but I guess I'll have to go on a little bit of faith. I told her that my biggest problem with her and the whole situation is that she could lie to me like that for 2 years, that she could look me in the eye and tell me she loves me, that she could make love to me knowing what she did. But I guess every day that went by, it probably got harder and harder to find a way to tell me. She told me that she thought about telling me a number of times, but she was afraid I would leave her. She said that she got to the point that she hoped I would never find out and that it would be like a bad dream. I'm glad I did find out. I'm glad I found out when I did. If I would have found out right after it happened, I would have left her. I am in a different place mentally and in maturity than I was then. I'm glad that she isn't carrying this guilt anymore. She seems like a whole new person without the weight of this secret on her shoulders. She is still scared that I might leave her, and I did tell her that I am not leaving her right now. But if she backtracks at all from her efforts to fix this marriage, I might not be able to say the same thing then. I hope this gives a little more insight into why I am where I am in the reconciliation stages already. It is very hard to be so vulnerable and put myself out there with the risk to be hurt again. I love my wife with all of my heart and soul. She is the reason that I am the man I am today. When I met her 13 years ago, I was strung out on drugs and fresh out of prison. She was the preppy straight A's, Southern Belle, valedictorian and soccer star from a good family. She gave me a reason to be a better man and straighten out. If it wasn't for her, I'd be behind bars. Since I met her, I have maintained a very good paying job, bought a 4-bedroom house at 28 years old and have provided everything for my family while she has been a full-time mom and now returning for her bachelor's degree. My point is, despite what I did in my past, she saw the good inside of me and loved me for who I was. I feel almost obligated to do the same. Sometimes I think I have blinders on and see only how she hurt me, and I'm not seeing the good inside of her and realizing that she made a terrible mistake and she needs me for support and guidance the way I needed her back then. I always felt that God put her into my life to show me the error of my ways and bring me to the good. Now I realize God put us into each other's lives to save each other. I am willing to take the risk of being hurt again because she is worth it. She really is a good person inside despite the bad thing that she did. I will bear the pain and suffering as needed to protect my kids from pain and suffering and loss. They could have worked up a story, sure, but I pose questions with half-truths to try to trip them up, playing one against the other. I know people who have been hurt badly are skeptical, but I know my wife. I can tell when she is lying or hiding something. I've known for 2 years that she was hiding something. I just couldn't find the proof. I am continuing to dig and stay vigilant. I am not going to go into R with blinders on. Like I had mentioned in earlier post, I told Head I would be checking the phone bills and matching to the call and text log on her phone. If there is even one missing call or text, she's out. It's the best I can do for now. I have dug and prodded and spoken to everyone that knows any of us or knows people who knows us. No further evidence of anything else yet. My wife is fully aware of everything in my childhood. She expressed remorse in that regard too, saying that she felt so terrible for doing what she did to me and hurting me, especially considering all of the pain I went through growing up. There has been a lot of skepticism regarding my wife's account of D-Day and suspicion that there was more to it or more occasions. I didn't go into detail regarding how I found out about her cheating because quite frankly I felt guilty about snooping, but not anymore. As I had mentioned before, I had a gut feeling and suspected something had happened, but I didn't know with who or when. The day I found out, I logged into her Facebook account. First off, I don't have Facebook, never have and never will. She didn't know that I knew her password, nor did she know I even knew how to navigate it. Below is the transcript word for word of the private message that led to me confronting her. I will refer to the former friend as OM. Wife update status on March 7th. Cleaning house. Private message. OM, are you cleaning house? Wife, no. OM, too bad. I would come take a peek if you were. OM, what? You're not going to answer me. Come on, my big titty friend. You know you're a freak. Wife, whatever. OM, I miss our playtime. Don't you? OM, yes, you can't answer that. Huh. Wife, I don't want to talk about it. OM, don't you wish we would have tried to do it again after that? Wife, no. I told you it was a mistake. Why do you think I always tried to go do something else or go to my parents when you came over to hang with random guy? OM, do you hate me now? Wife, no. It just shouldn't have happened. I told you not to talk to me that way anymore. Do you want me to delete you from my friends list? OM, no, damn. Okay, sorry. We're still friends, though, right? Wife, I got to get back to cleaning. I was just taking a break. Bye. End of conversation. I printed this out and confronted my wife with it, and that is when she came clean. This conversation is what gives me a little hope and faith that it was only a one-time thing and something she regretted. This all being said, I took all of your comments and insight to heart. There was a lot of suspicion regarding their story of the actual physical encounter. This weekend, with all of this on my mind, I sat down with my wife and we talked for about 2 hours. Talked about everything that led up to the paw and the lying and deceit for that moment until now. I asked her to give me a step-by-step of how that morning played out, some of which I have posted already, so I won't go into great detail on some of it. He had come over to have a smoke with her, which was not uncommon, and he asked if she had any coffee and asked for some, which is outlined more in detail in previous post. Once inside we are sitting on the couch and he was showing her pictures of the horses he had bought at auction the weekend before. After a few minutes he began to inquire about how she and I were doing, and she said so, but we were working on it. He started telling how attractive she was and how I didn't appreciate her and took her for granted. She said he leaned over and kissed her and she didn't resist. It was no secret that she found him attractive. It progressed into foreplay and clothes removal. She said he performed X on her and she did the same to him. I don't know if it is a way that she is minimizing it or if it bothers her that she couldn't get him aroused. Either way, she said that they began having fun on the couch and 10 minutes into, they both agreed to just quit. She told him to leave and she went upstairs and got in the bath and cried. This actually helped me to process and continue the healing. I had all of these questions floating around that was really bothering me. Knowing the details, no matter how hard it was for me to handle and to hear, was critical for me to continue moving forward. According to her, when they started having fun, she immediately thought about stopping, but I guess she didn't have the willpower or was afraid on how he'd react. She said there was nothing enjoyable about it and she was hoping he would orgasm quickly and it would be over, but she said that ultimately, she is very happy he didn't finish, but at the time she wanted it to be over. According to her, he was being very pushy. I can't answer for why she didn't just stop in the beginning, but there is nothing logical about cheating to me, so I don't know if I'll ever truly understand it. She admitted that she enjoyed the X and the kissing, so I don't see why she would lie about not enjoying the bonding. Maybe reality set in for both of them by that point. He expressed true remorse to me when I confronted him. I have told myself that he couldn't stay hard because he knew what he was doing was wrong. Maybe that is just wishful thinking. With the information that I have, I am going to go on a little faith. She has been nothing but truthful and answered every question even though she knows some of the answers were going to hurt me or make me mad. I am hoping that my experience is one of the exceptions and it remains a one-time experience. I will stay vigilant and guarding and will let the healing, forgiveness and reconciliation happen naturally. We have set a very good line of communication. Whenever I start feeling angry or upset about it, I tell her what I am feeling and we discuss and it helps me a lot. She does the same. I was outside washing my truck yesterday and she was upstairs cleaning the bathrooms. I came inside to get a drink and cool off. I went upstairs to see how she was coming along and she was sitting on the floor leaned up against the sink crying. She said that cleaning triggered feeling about how bad she felt when she saw the look in my eyes on the day I found out and she felt so guilty. You got to understand, before all of this, I have only seen my wife cry 4 times in 13 years. The day her grandfather died, the day her best friend was murdered, and the days when our kids were born. She never showed much emotion and usually stays very stoic when she's upset. Only time will tell. I do love her with all of my heart and I know she is a good person inside. She made a terrible mistake and she needs to face the emotional issues that led to her doing this, and she knows she has to work hard every day to prove to me that she deserves my forgiveness and trust. I brought up a polygraph test last night and she agreed without hesitation. I figured she would get defensive or offended, but not at all. I just need to find one locally now. I don't have any concerns, but it should definitely help solidify the R process. Would my wife continue to have sleep with the OM if he had stayed hard? Maybe? I'll never know. Does it matter much? Not really. She claims she was relieved that he couldn't perform. She claims that she knows it went way too far and she was scared to tell him to stop. Whether this is true, I don't know. She could have tried to get him hard again, but she told him to leave. Does it matter at this point? Not too much. From the first kiss forward was too far. I have accepted what happened and am not going to get hung up on the details that don't really change anything. They could have screwed for an hour and it would hurt just the same. Do I think that they would have done it again if he would have performed the first time? No. My wife succumbed to a moment of weakness. The remorse and guilt she carries is beyond measurable. She has spent every day expressing how incredibly remorseful she is, how scared she was that when I found out I would leave, how bad she felt lying to me for 2 years. She is doing the heavy lifting right now. She is working hard every single to prove that she deserves my forgiveness and deserves a chance to earn my trust back. I talked with her quite a bit last night and really grilled her on why she didn't come clean, how she could sit there and watch me be best friends with this OM knowing what they did. She said she wanted to tell me many times but could never find the words. I can understand that to a point. It all makes sense now on why she distanced herself whenever I was hanging out with the OM. She said the message he sends her on FB was the first private message he had sent and the first time he started bringing that day up. I looked through all of the history, didn't see anything else. Why start it all of a sudden after 2 years? Don't know, don't care. I find peace in how she responded to him. As I said last night, we talked a lot about the incident and a lot of the emotional issues she has. We are going to marriage counseling starting in 2 weeks. She is seeking a psychologist to see independently to work through some of her self-esteem issues. We are moving in a positive direction. I will remain guarded and vigilant, but I am feeling better and more secure. My comment: what would you do if your wife had an affair with your best friend? Would you let her go or keep her? Story 2. My wife and I have been married for almost a year, June 13th. We've been together for 3 years. She has 2 kids that I love as my own. We've been through a lot over the years and especially within our marriage. No one respects the marriage, her to be included. She has serious trust issues and insecurities. We've been separated, me not staying in the home, for a week now, but I've pretty much seen and talked to her every day since I left. She says she loves me but is no longer in love with me. She says I'm not capable of loving her and treating her the way she deserves. Totally blindsided by this because she is my world. Everyone knows how I feel about her. She doesn't believe it. She accuses me of looking at another woman anywhere we go. Constantly accuse me of cheating. I have anger problems, so I don't like to talk about issues head on. I need a minute to cool down so I won't end up saying the wrong or hurtful things. She refuses to give me that time, which leads me to lash out. Now she uses that to say I'm guilty or I wouldn't be getting defensive. I only get defensive because I'm tired of the silly accusations when she knows my heart is with her. I can admit when I'm wrong, but I've done nothing to cause a divorce. As far as cheating, she seems to think so regardless. She even wanted to go on Dr. Phil to prove it. It's always up and down with her. At this point, she says she doesn't want to be with me, but I'm still spending all my time with her and she's still calling me to do stuff with her, but then disses me for company. Another thing I'm confused on is she says she's moving on with her life and suggests I do the same, but in the same breath she says she will think about us getting back together. How can I save my marriage? The scary part, our relationship has been up and down for the most part. She's very good at using manipulation to get what she wants. Every argument, disagreement ends with it's over or I'm done. It shouldn't be that way, but she made it a habit. It's not a good feeling at all. She wanted this marriage and manipulated me into this as well. Now I'm all in, but I lost her. We were having issues with infidelity, trust, respect way before the marriage. If I can recall, we were broken up about a week or so. We linked up to smoke and chill only. She accused me of staring at a female while she was in the store. She was upset and talking about going back to her hometown. I told her I'd do anything to keep her here. She said marry me tomorrow. And I did. We went to the courthouse and got married. We argued the entire way up there because I was missing work. I told her we would do it tomorrow since I was off. She refused. She said I got you here now, so this is my chance. But like I said, I'm all in the marriage now. I've always wanted to marry her, just not under those terms. Now we are suffering big time. We're kind of already in counseling. For my anger, marriage once a week, but with things going on, we missed appointments. I have an appointment on the 4th. I'll see if she's willing to go. She already realizes that she can do or say whatever and I'll take her back. She hollers the same about me. I disagree. She already had a 3x in our marriage. I was gone for a week at my mom's just clearing my head after a big fight. She assumed I was cheating, so she went and did her thing. I stayed with her after that but never really healed from it. I admit I do have a lot of anger and old grudges against her that I'm willing to close out so my true feelings for her can show. I don't like fighting and arguing with her all the time, but I'm just constantly disappointed in the fact that I'm always being accused or lack the trust of my wife. I tend to shut down and stay mute, which causes her to feel lonely. Or the biggest thing, not telling her she's beautiful every day. I had my reasons for not doing those. I was mad at her. She wanted me to love her through the flaws and I didn't. I know she's done, I just can't understand why. I've forgiven a lot, no matter how bad it hurt, cheating, etc. And now I just have to accept the fact that I lost my wife because of a temper. Just not understanding how she can act like I never meant anything to her. I mean, her kids call me dad. I was changing diapers, making bottles, all of that when I didn't have to. Her son wasn't even talking and barely stubbing around. He's 4 now, he loves me, we do everything together. How doesn't that mean anything to her? Cannot wrap my head around this. The whole accusing me thing didn't start until she went behind bars, multiple times. But this last time a few weeks ago caused this, along with our history, I'm sure. But her baby daddy shows up unannounced to drop kids off. He's yelling at my wife, telling her not to smoke in the house, etc. He ends up calling cops saying there's drug activity in the house. Cops come, she basically had a warrant for threatening our old neighbors. They arrested her, she was in there for 4 hours. I was on the phone with her baby daddy for 3 hours and he was pretty much filing me and saying while she was staying there. When we were homeless few months ago, at his house they pretty much were together, or she acted like it in order to get the tax money from him. My taxes got rejected because baby daddy claimed the kids. Once she got the money, she got our place and we moved in. 3 weeks into us living there and this happened. So, as I was saying, I'm on the phone with him just taking it all in. I had the neighbors run me by the store to get the kids something to eat. Wife comes home, I already told her I know about Malcolm. She then flips everything on me and say I was wrong for getting in a car with a female even though I was feeding her kids. She now thinks I slept with the neighbor based on how I felt when her baby daddy told me this. She's crazy. But whatever, both of them are putting it on their kids that the other is lying. That's wrong. Went for a run this morning. I felt amazing afterwards. Was in the shower reflecting and bam, she texts me saying I know you're mad but I need your help today. Not even an apology. Don't know exactly how to respond, if at all. She obviously has no one in her corner to help her. She was just totally fine with us no longer being friends. Now she has to be out of the app by tomorrow again. I mentioned earlier she drags her feet about doing anything important. My comment, is OP really important in her mind? I'm not sure. What do you guys think of this second one? Comment down and see you in the afternoon marriage lesson.